Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to discuss the possible future Beastmen Dlc, so without further ado, let's begin. When the newest DLC for Warhammer 2 was announced to be for the Wood Elves, which will also include a faction rework, many Beastmen fans were understandably disappointed. Fun fact, the Beastmen are currently getting as much attention in Total War Warhammer as they got in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I guess the meme continues even long after the death of that tabletop game. And while in truth the Beastmen do desperately need a faction rework, possibly even more so than any other race in the Total War Warhammer series, at least we are aware that a rework will eventually come. This has been acknowledged by Creative Assembly. Before we continue, a lot of people were hoping for a Beastmen vs Wood Elf DLC, and while that would make the most sense thematically, the sheer amount of work that would have had to go into two faction reworks would have probably been too expensive for Creative Assembly. At the end of the day, they need to make a profit, and obviously a faction rework does require a lot of development time, so if they have to do two at the same time, that would either mean the following. Either the Lord Pack itself would be more expensive than usual, more or less being around the price of a race pack, as they would have to justify the cost of development, or half of the development time would be placed on each race, which unfortunately would mean that the reworks themselves would be rather lackluster. Something like this would not have been a possibility, mainly because both the Beastmen and the Wood Elves needed hefty reworks. So it makes sense for each of these races to get their own respective spotlight in their own cross-game DLC. So with that being said, when would it be likely to see a Beastmen DLC in the Total War Warhammer series? Originally, I had thought that we'd most likely see a Beastmen DLC around the time of Warhammer 3. This is because not only do the Beastmen themselves need a massive overhaul, but also a core mechanic which is used throughout the Total War series. The Beastmen are a horde faction, and as of yet, the hordes are, well, extremely boring, with NPC horde factions not being able to hold their own as they get destroyed rather quickly. However, recent news has come to light, where it seems the Amazon DLC for a Total War Saga Troy will also include a horde faction. So there is reason to believe that the horde system might have been reworked for a Total War Saga Troy. If not, then, well, many people will just actively avoid this faction. So it's the case that hordes have finally received their much needed overhaul in a Total War Saga Troy, it is very possible that we could see a Beastmen DLC in Total War Warhammer 2. As far as we're aware, there might be another DLC for Total War Warhammer 2 after the Wood Elves get whatever DLC they have planned. This is obviously if Creative Assembly are going for the 6 Legendary Lord route for each core game race for Warhammer 2. Right now the Skaven have 5 and the Dark Elves also have 5. So it would make sense to introduce another cross-game DLC in order to finish off the whole 6 Legendary Lords per core race for Warhammer 2. Now we do have to take into account recent matters. You see, it was stated by Grace from CA in a Reddit post that there were a few DLCs planned for Total War Warhammer 2. However, recent matters such as the global pandemic could put a stop to any DLC plans. This is understandable, of course. If any of you have been working from home during the recent pandemic, I can imagine that you guys have also felt a difference in work environment. I myself have felt less productive when working from home than I have been when working in my actual office. That's not to say that an idea for a Beastmen DLC would be permanently shelved, but rather moved on to Total War Warhammer 3. Now, what type of format can we expect in terms of release? Assuming the new cross-game DLC format, which is being introduced with the upcoming Wood Elf DLC works, then it's most likely this will be the case going forward. If you own the base game and the DLC, then you would have access to whatever factions get introduced in their own official campaigns for the main campaign of the base game. Should you own Game 1 and 2, or Game 1 and 3 if this gets moved on to the third and final game of the series, there is a possibility obviously, then you would get access to the Lords, the map updates for both the campaigns, and apparently the faction rework. And finally, if you own the 2 base games, the DLC which is upcoming, and the original race pack which introduced the race, then you'll get an additional Legendary Lord only available in the Grand Campaign with new units, variants, and so on. This is further reinforced by the following quote. We hope it works and you get a kick out of it, because then it means we'll be allowed to do it again, and we really want to add everything we can to Total War Warhammer. So essentially, the way I gather it, it's a test to see if they could gate stuff behind a rather large paywall. And while people might not be too happy about that, there is actually the possibility that this is a good thing. So, depending on what we see in the upcoming Wood Elf DLC, we'll be able to properly gauge and make a speculation video about that, but I'm starting to think that maybe a lot of stuff in the Beastmen roster, which many of us used to joke about comparing them to Charlemagne's, might be a possibility now. Generally, a cross-game DLC has introduced a new legendary lord, some new mechanics, and a few units here and there. However, it is in my understanding, if I've read everything correctly regarding the Wood Elf DLC, that more units than usual are going to be added in for the Wood Elves via the FLC, which is gated behind 4 forms of paid-for content. This is a way to increase monetary gain, which will have some possible future effect for future projects. If they see that this new format works, then they'll be willing to place more budget into the development of new DLC. With this, it could be very possible we could see such iconic units such as the Jabberslife and maybe even the Gorgon see official releases. Full disclosure, I am more than enough aware that there is a mod with the Gorgon. Chaos Robbie did an amazing job with it, but it can be assumed that just because a modder has been able to implement it does not mean that Creative Assembly will now scrap the project entirely. I'm hoping that this new DLC for DLC format works. It looks rather impressive, and this video itself wasn't to speculate what will come in the future, but rather to quell the mind of the Beastmen fans. It's looking rather positive. Obviously, like I said before, once we're aware on who the antagonists for the Wood Elves are, then we can more or less start speculating regarding the future Beastmen Dlc. But I'm feeling fairly confident. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. I'm rather curious for the Beastmen fans here to see if they are a bit more relaxed about the situation or not. But with that, my friends, we come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Using our special link and also our special code, both of which can be found in our description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Pence and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Hewell and VSVasan for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, I can't thank you guys enough for the support. It really means a lot to me, especially since all the money earned from Patreon goes directly back onto the channel. New webcam, equipment, microphones, and so on. And a big thank you to all of you liking, sharing, commenting on these videos. Honestly, I'm really enjoying creating this content and chatting to all of you guys about speculation, new content, and so on. It's absolutely awesome. It's been nice to make a few friends along the way. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and I shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.